Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how we get started with business improvement. And there's 4 things I want to talk to you about. I want to talk about the driver for business improvement, the data that you need, the process, and also your problem statement. So let's get into it. The third thing I want to talk to you about is a big prerequisite for our business improvement efforts or our mindset as well, and that is process. Now, you want to understand for your driver and the data that you have, what is the process that's at fault here? So what's that process that is most likely causing the difference between your outputs? And what I mean by process is what is the steps or the activities that we need to do to turn our input into an output. So how do we process our input into an output? And that could be one or many steps as well. There's a really good acronym in business improvement to remember this. It's called SIPOC, S-I-P-O-C. And this is adding the supplier of the input and the customer at each bookend to the process as well. So we've got our supplier, the input, the process steps, the output, and then our customer. And this could be one and the same person or department, or it could be different ones. That's when we use swim lanes, for example, when we flowchart and map different business processes. Now, one of the big objectives I get from my clients is that they say, oh, we don't really have documented processes. So when I talk about processes, I don't necessarily mean that you have the flowcharts as of right now. They could be documented or undocumented. They can be defined or not defined, so they might vary between different people. Or they could be documented, but they're not well understood or followed through your departments. Or you've got them and they're outdated. So the processes that we want to improve and re-engineer are really the ones that are actually happening, and they might differ from the ones that we've stored or written down in our BPMS, in our business process management system. That's the place where we document our defined processes ideally, and those are the flow charts that describe how we turn the input into the output. And we can map those processes against best practices processes. So for example, what I said earlier, that change management and project management are related because they are best practices on how we manage behavioral change or how do we manage projects in organizations. So we can look at how do we do change right now in our organization, and how does that compare to the best practices that we have within the industry or within our countries as well. And then we can have business process re-engineering initiatives or projects that do business improvement on the gap between the two. And then over time, we want to have a continuous improvement culture that then re-evaluates whether or not our processes are still in date and applicable and ideal as they are. So it never stops, really, the incremental change.